Okay, hey guys, welcome back to Blue Lotus. It's been a minute, and it's smack dab in the middle of the holidays. And one show that's really stood out to me and the rest of the crew is Netflix's limited series, The Queen's Gambit. If you guys haven't seen this show, let me just paint a picture for you how popular it is right now with some numbers. So it's pretty much Netflix's most watched scripted limited series after 62 million accounts tuned into the show in the first 28 days. It was ranked on Netflix's top 10 in 92 countries. And chess.com confirmed that there's like a new wave of users that are coming in. And it's actually more slightly skewed towards females this time, all the new users that are coming in. And then I guess that's enough about, the numbers. I'm just going to jump into the show itself. I really thoroughly enjoyed this show for a great number of reasons. The first thing that really stood out to me, though, before anything else, because you'll see that the main character comes in, at least the adult version of her, after like 2 episodes. So the thing that really drew me in the first couple episodes was the fantastic set design, the beautiful costumes. I mean, the production on the show is insane.
Yeah, production was incredible.
It's super immersive. It's definitely like more of a like nostalgic glam painting of like that time period of like the 50s and all that. But they do it well, and it's definitely like a spectacle to behold.
I agree. I thought that the way they shot it, all the different camera angles and the way they told the story was very unique too. And that's also what captivated me towards it, especially having a female lead as well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think when talking about the set design, there were moments when I would just like look at the wallpaper that they chose for specific rooms, and I was just like,
oh, see, me too. I was looking at wallpaper and I was like, this is gorgeous.
I know. I was like, this
crazy
is fantastic.
Cool. It was wallpaper.
I know.
But also, speaking of the lead, Christine, I personally am obsessed with Anya Taylor-Joy. I've been following her since The Witch, since she starred in Split. I actually also just watched New Mutants, which wasn't as bad as I was expecting. And one of my favorite parts of that movie was her, because she was just so sassy, and her Russian accent was super fun.
I think she's a wonderful actress. Because of Queen's Gambit, I started like looking up YouTube videos and trying to see like how she kind of holds herself in interviews and whatnot. And I think she's probably going to be one of like the big actresses that we'll see on more movies or TV screens.
She's so charming. And then maybe we can talk about this another time too, but I heard recently that she's pretty much confirmed to be the young Furiosa in the Furiosa movie, which is going to be a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, interesting.
So, and I think it's well deserved. I know it's kind of weird with Charlize Theron being out, but as an Anya Taylor-Joy fan, I'm ecstatic. Mm-hmm. And this Queen's Gambit pretty much solidified her status as a really talented actress in my mind, and probably the minds of very many out there.
I agree. Dude, I don't even know how to play chess. I have no idea what's going on I know the basics, the bishop moves diagonally, the knight is like L, and
they explained it. They explained it.
But still, I'm just like, oh my God, what's going on in this scene? It's so intense. Mm-hmm. But I still loved it. It was really great.
It was.
Yeah, they made it seem like an actual like contact sport, the way that it was like one-on-one. I was like, dang, like she's about to like fight this dude basically on the chessboard, like meet me on the chessboard. Like it was cool to see her hold her own.
One of the things that I loved about how the movie, or what the movie did basically, was that they were able to. Sorry, it felt like a movie because I watched it all at once. But what the miniseries did was that the competition, basically the chess competition between these different players, it felt like visceral, like while you were in it, but then at the end of it was almost as if like even if you lost, you still had an appreciation for the game, like the game that you just played, because you could see that like certain players, the way that they lost, they would still take it as a learning experience, and it felt good to watch that. And like not every loss in the show is like that. There are some losses that hit people pretty hard.
Most of hers were pretty bitter.
Right. Yeah. Most of hers specifically, but like the people that she would beat, when they would lose, it would just be like, I'm just glad to be here. I'm glad to see this. And it was cool to see that, you know.
Yeah, that definitely made me appreciate the game and the players. I'm not gonna lie, I did re-download the chess game app on my phone.
Want to play sometime?
Playing computer. Yeah, I'm down. I'm really bad. I didn't even know there was like techniques like they showed on the show. So we'll see what happens.
No, I don't know about the techniques either. So you know, I don't know. Are we all beginners?
Yeah,
I feel like we are.
I'm down to play too.
Yeah,
we'll learn it together.
Yeah, we can play chess with each other and see how that goes. Maybe we'll record it for fun.
Amazing. And this is the influence of the Queen's Gambit, pretty much. I mean, people are all saying the same thing. Like, I never knew I would care this much about chess, but I feel like it's cool to be surprised about it because I feel like it's always good to like pick up a new hobby, especially around this time.
Yeah.
And then another thing too, I guess spoilers, but like in the last episode, I thought it showed that like she was on the phone with some friends back home when she's competing internationally in Russia, and it shows that like all of her friends kind of are like all together trying to come up with ways for her to like beat Borgov, the guy that's her opponent.
Yeah, that felt like, cheating.
When
that's exactly what I said. I was like, is that cheating?
It did. But before that, they showed that the Russians were doing that before she even knew that was going to happen. The Russians were doing that. And Benny did call that out a couple episodes before the finale because he said, hey, the Russians are different. They play like a team. They help each other. It's not like here. We're Western thought. We do everything individualistic, and that's why we always lose. So that was kind of like a Chekhov's gun kind of trope where it's like, oh, that's going to be important later, which I like when that happens. And there's like little like hints back to like previous episodes. So yeah, when they all came together and it was like all her little boyfriends and all that like working together to give her all the test answers. To me, it was so epic because they showed everyone individually and then like all together in the room. It literally felt like the Avengers assembling an Endgame. It was that exciting to me. And I just like love that I was that excited about like chess. I was like, dang, like they really did that to me.
I mean, to your point, they also they brought back the orphanage, I think from the very first episode and then to the last episode. And I thought that was a really good way to bring attention to systems like that. And the whole like drug abuse, I guess. Maybe it was like more apparent back then. Because what was this, in the 70s?
There were no restrictions. They were like, 50s, drugs 50s, is drugs. 60s. Take them. It'll make you feel better.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think that whole undertone of like addiction was kind of the real like behind the scenes story of this show. And, you know, it was like the chess was at the forefront, but like the real story, at least for me, was her struggles with addiction and her having to, her early introduction and then dependence on it throughout, and then like ultimately having to decide and having to grow past it and figure out how to win without it. I think that was like the real story.
Yeah, I think that was a really interesting arc for her to go through, because I read something somewhere where they were like, they basically turned the character Beth into like that uber talented like prodigy rock star character that you see a lot in shows that are male led, or where like, the main character is like a dude and he's like, a rock star and he plays it fast and he has like addiction. But the fact that like they had like a female protagonist do that, struggle with addiction and like vices, drinking, drugs, and like meeting people, getting out of control, having sex, like really humanized her and like, I don't know, made her just like a really well-rounded main character in my eyes and a lot of other people's eyes, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I think one of the best scenes too is when she went back to her home in Kentucky and they were going to take away, like the old husband of her, or her adoptive father was going to take away the house and sell it, and she was dressed all up in her adoptive mother's clothes. And I felt like that was a chess move. That was a power move, because it kind of like psyched him out too. He didn't want to look at her or anything. And yeah, I thought that was one of my favorite scenes from The Queen's Gambit.
Interesting. True. Like, she didn't back down. That was very strategic, I think, on her part. But I didn't even notice that she was wearing her mom's clothes. Dang. I'm going to have to rewatch that scene. I think I like, too, the scenes after where she's just on a huge bender because she's, like, depressed that she lost a chess game and she just gets all drunk and crazy and people see her, like, spilling, like, the trash on her lawn and it's just empty bottles. Like, I love, like, we've seen that before in, like, movies. It's a trope, like, oh, they're a messy drunk. But it's fun to watch her specifically. Like I said before, Anya Taylor-Joy is just a treat to watch. And also those scenes are fun too, even though it's like you definitely kind of sympathize and feel bad for her because she's a mess. The scenes are still not too dark. It's fun to watch because the music choices that they made. I think another cool thing about this series is like besides the score, which is wonderful, the like actual like old tunes they use from the 50s like really set the tone. And like I said, in those scenes where she's kind of just like stumbling around her property, it's set to like a really cool French pop song that I found later on Spotify. And I just listen to it regularly now. It just, I don't know, it was a good song choice at that time. And I think that's just another testament to like how carefully they set up this show, music choice and all.
Yeah, I think the score, you mentioned the score, that was one of my favorite parts about the show. The score set such a good tone for it and the mood as well. It just worked very well and was distinctive to me, unlike many other scores that are just like, you don't notice it.
I think it's that Netflix budget, man. Because like I've been watching some other Netflix shows. Another score I really like is like The Haunting of Bly Manor, Haunting of Hill House series.
Me too.
And like, I don't know, Netflix has been making a lot of hits, man, and it has to do with like the crazy production, I think.
It's interesting because I feel like Netflix is usually spot on with their shows, but their movies are hit or miss.
Yeah. And
so it seems like the production doesn't necessarily, or the quality doesn't necessarily transfer over to films for whatever reason. But as of right now, Queen's Gambit has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. And yeah, I was thinking about that. And I don't know, I was thinking, is there anything wrong with this show that you guys can think of?
I personally love it. If I had to nitpick, I would say, and this is like not just me, I've heard this from other people, the first 2 episodes can be kind of slow. But I mean, if you get through it, and they're not that slow. I think it's still pretty interesting. It's a good build up, a good slow burn as far as like it leading up to like the ending of the series anyways. But I mean, I think that can be contributed to like Anya Taylor-Joy is not even in those first 2 episodes, except at the very, very beginning. And that's more of like a bookend type thing where you see that scene at the very end of the series. But so yeah, it's like really pretty much like the child actor as an orphan portraying Beth in those first 2 episodes. Yeah. And she can be kind of like monotone the whole time.
Oh, she was definitely monotone.
Yeah. But that's pretty much like the only negative I can think of and have been hearing about. But I'm sure if I think there must be some.
I think she was it was too easy for her to win initially for me.
Well, she had access to drugs.
I don't know if that works. Realistically, of course, it's a TV show, but for me personally, I like to see the journey someone takes to like really get to the top. But like for me, she kind of got to the top like really fast and easily. But
I guess it's like the story of child prodigies now, right? Because it's
because they did mention good? Like a few times that all these different chess champions, they all started at like 3 years old or something like that, but she started much later at 8 or 9, whatever she said.
At that point, is it like hard work or just strong like player's intuition as like a child that like makes the talent? And I don't know. But like speaking of the drugs, I was like, maybe that's a flaw of the show, is like when she was winning all those games, I was like, is this a secret? Should I just be taking lots of drugs so I'm good at stuff?
Should I be high?
Yeah, maybe this show is a bad influence and maybe that's the flaw.
Maybe. It was interesting. I will agree with Scott a little bit. I did feel like she, even though she did have some challenges, she didn't have enough. in my opinion. I think that it would have been better if she were challenged a little bit more earlier on.
Exactly.
Because really the only people who challenged her were Benny and Borgov. And then, yeah, they were like the only ones that really challenged her.
Scheibel in the beginning when she was learning how to play.
Yeah, when she's 9.
Yeah.
When she's 9.
But yeah, I feel like...
But that was like a couple scenes later and she won, you know? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. I guess the real challenge was her substance abuse.
No, but exactly.
Yeah,
So that's why what Osi mentioned earlier makes a lot of sense. And at least for me, that kind of story I'm not as interested in that kind of story. So that's also weakness just for me personally. So, so yeah.
Yeah,
I'd have to agree with Crystal in how the first 2 episodes felt kind of slow to me. And I do have to admit, I'm a proponent on fast forwarding through TV shows. So like the first 2 episodes, I was literally like just skipping all the parts that I don't really need to know. Mm-hmm. Like the unnecessary parts that don't really add up to the entire story.
Right. Yeah, I think they really put the slow burn in those first 2 episodes. They could have really just trimmed the fat and made that 1 episode, you know, that whole like orphanage part.
Yeah. I did. Yo, go ahead.
Just like, I think they did a good job of setting up though, like, I guess her technique, and this is another cool thing they did with like the special effects is like, you know, when she's in the orphanage, she figures after like taking the drugs, a technique she can do is like play out games of chess on the ceiling in her head, and you see it like actually kind of realized through like special effects. Like you see them yourself as a viewer through her eyes also.
I love those special effects.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Like, and you see like the shadows appear on her face too, as like the chess pieces like move on the board up on the ceiling, and that's cool because like when you see it again, there's like a kind of a I guess a period where she doesn't see that for a long time because she's trying to like battle the, you know, substance abuse and like the drugs and all that. But then you do see it again when she's like fully sober, and it's like a cool like crescendo of like, oh, she's finally like tapping into her talent without the drugs, and she like looks at the ceiling and sees the chess pieces moving. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that part was kind of corny for the last episode.
Really? I liked it. It wasn't as cool as like when everyone got together on the phone, but I was like, she's like looking right at the ceiling. I was like, hell yeah, this guy's about to get destroyed.
Maybe she like still had some trace drugs in her system. Just
that's the reality.
That's actually like the come down.
They never really showed her going through like withdrawal either.
Yeah, I was interested in that because like when she threw away her drugs in Russia, I was like, is she gonna feel withdrawals? But then they really didn't do that. I think she did when she was young. In that first episode she had withdrawals, but after that they really didn't show her withdrawals.
Well, that was kind of weird to me, odd to me, because I feel like you've been on it for like 10 plus years.
Well, when she flushed them down the toilet in Russia, she wasn't on them for like a long time. Right? Like she'd already. Yeah, I think she just like. I think once an addict, always an addict, they say, and that's for like drinking and drugs. And I think she had them just because like that's her habit and that's what she's used to. And she was probably thinking about taking them. And like as an addict, you probably think about taking them every single day. So I think that's why she had them.
Yeah. And then also one other critique, I don't know if this was a conscious choice from the writers of the show, but it felt weird for me. I kind of joked around a little bit while I was watching it about how they were representing Black people in the show.
This is valid. This is valid.
I was like, well, at first I was like, okay, why does the only Black girl that speaks have to be like the bad influence that leads her down the path of drug abuse? and then later on, like, really there's no other Black people in the show other than her friend. And there was a throwaway line in like one of the early episodes where she's like contemplating working so that she can like have some money, and her adoptive mom is like, the only girls your age that work are colored girls. And I
remember that.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so, but then it kind of just went away after that. And then there was also like, it felt like there were just like sprinkles of like, this is the 60s and like life isn't good for everyone, especially minorities. But then they really didn't show it.
That was a really tumultuous time, and you're right. They didn't shed light on that. And the show is not diverse now that I think about it. It's like, it's all white people. Let's be real.
Which I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I just feel like it's weird that it's almost like it was like an afterthought. I feel like, because like I understand that, you know, back in those days, if you're in a white neighborhood, you're not going to have black people around, obviously. Like they didn't need to have that, but it felt weird that it felt like they were trying to bring it in. And then when they did bring it in, it felt awkward because it wasn't like dealt with properly. And I'm like, if you're going to bring it in, at least like deal with it in a way that's, you know, it makes sense to deal with it, and it's thought-provoking. Yeah. Stuff
Unfortunately,
like that, so.
I think that's why they limited those types of things, is because they knew they weren't going to handle it correctly, because they were like, this is not that type of show.
Yeah.
Which is, they probably just should have handled that a little better. Because it was like a trope again, where it was like her best friend was black. It's like, what's that movie with Matt Damon where he's like a golfer? The Legend of like Bagger Vance, basically, where Will Smith is there to be the like just an ornament for Matt Damon's character to develop fully, which is like kind of like the black version of like manic pixie dream girl.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is like, we've seen this.
When they brought her back in the last episode, she turned into she was basically acting like the wise old grandmother, but like still her age person. And like giving her like don't worry, child, it's okay, child. I'm like, what's going on here? Is that how a 20-something-year-old black girl would act to somebody who's her age? I'm like, come on.
This is
and she's trope. A sugar baby too.
Oh yeah,
that's true. That's true. That's true. What?
You know what would have been better, I think, is if the roles were reversed and the lead was a black female lead who was going through, like, she was a chess prodigy. I think that would be interesting to see. And then they would have to tackle, you know, that type of problem.
I think that would be better too, but I don't think Netflix is ready for that conversation.
It would have been interesting. Again, I'm not mad at the fact that it's like focused on this white community. Like, you can do that. That's not a problem. I just feel like the representation that they had of other communities in there wasn't that great. So
agreed.
I mean, there was no Asian people in that show either.
There were no Asians.
Yeah, not even one. Not even a token Asian person.
Nope. To what you said,
especially in chess.
To what you said, her best friend basically went through an arc of character development off screen, you know?
Yes.
Exactly. And then she went from a troublesome, rebellious youth to like an 80-year-old grandmother, completely out of frame.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
But other than that, I think that it's overall a very well-made show. It's a very, quality show. I think it deserves the accolades that it's been getting.
Yeah, high production, great score, great acting. For me personally, the story just wasn't the type of story I usually enjoy. So that's why for me, I probably didn't enjoy it as much as you guys, but it was definitely still a well-made show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think these types of projects, at least for me, just make me more excited for other like Netflix original stuff. And now I'm like excited to follow like Anya Taylor-Joy's career. I have like kind of more of an interest to see her in Furiosa now. So I think her team is making really smart choices with the roles she's accepting. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what she does next.
Yeah. And I do want to say, I think a lot of the publicity that the Queen's Gambit is getting is also due to the environment that we're in. And by environment, I mean like COVID-19. There's nothing really releasing, There's no new movies. Not really. I mean, there's TV shows, but there's not really like that many new ones. And so I feel like a lot of people are kind of going towards like Netflix to look for that something new, and that's what Netflix is capitalizing on, because they have like a backlog of shows that, you know, they could release or whatnot.
And it's based on a strategic board game, which everyone can do safely within the confines of their home. So,
yeah. Can they do that for Catan? Because I'd be very curious. The prodigy of Catan. Yeah.
Catan has way too much to do with luck. So.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean,
the dice rule.
Chess has often been called like the perfect game because it's of the just like sheer amount of strategy that is involved. And I've always wanted to be good at chess. I've never like devoted a lot of time to it, but yeah, I think it would be cool to,
wait,
to learn.
Who here has watched Hunter x Hunter? Yeah,
I have.
Remember the other game that he played, Shogi, I think?
Yeah, the black and white one.
Or
no.
Is it backgammon?
It's like Japanese
checkers?
chess.
Yeah,
kind of, right?
It's like a 3D type of chess.
Yeah, I remember that one. It's kind of like a house tile.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
I'm interested in that one.
Interesting.
But yeah, we should try a chess. I was gonna say tournament amongst us, but we can.
Let's play, you guys. I really want to.
I'm down.
I'm down. Awesome.
Well, Queen's Gambit, bringing people together through chess.
Let's go.